Oh, there's all sorts of new social medias.
And more distractions. Thank you.
More to say.
You're
Yeah,
welcome.
thanks. Exactly.
You need another app to check. What were you planning on doing today? I'm sorry, it doesn't matter.
Ex- Yeah, this thread,
So you're talking about threads. You're talking about
threads,
threads.
threads, pulling at them.
Threads. Pulling at the threads.
Yes.
What's your thread count? What's your thread count, Cormac? Are you a 300 or are
So
you more
I'm
on the
wondering, the more and more,
Egyptian level
do
cotton?
we get, did we get a lot softer, higher the thread count?
The older you get,
Don't even finish it, because you're going to then force me to finish my thought, and
right,
that's not good.
right,
So, yeah,
right. This is the dad joke section of the podcast, right?
exactly.
Da-dum-dum. Yeah.
Yeah.
So not only are we on threads, you and I,
Yes.
which I kind of like egged you into this, I guess. What's the
Yeah.
right way to say that? What did I say?
You
I don't know.
you peer pressured me.
I sent you my link.
Yeah.
I sent you my link. I sent you my digits.
Yeah.
And then you were like, because
Like,
because my
all
excuse
right.
is I just want to get my username. I just got to get my username
True.
just in
Y-
case, because I don't want to be Evan Troxel 3682 or whatever.
Exactly.
I want my username on all the social media platforms so that I can just say @etroxel. And then it's like, what platform? All of them. I wish that were true. It's not quite true. It's not quite true everywhere, but it is true in most places.
Yeah. Yeah. But then we decided to finally launch Archispeak as a Instagram account.
Because you have to have an Instagram account, it seems, like to
To
sign up for threads. I
be-
don't know if that's true or not.
it it was a lot easier.
It's a hell of a lot
It was a
easier.
lot.
Right.
It was a lot easier since I was the one who established the
Right.
threads.
The threads.
So anyway, yeah, set that up, and hopefully we'll have some fun new content coming out, especially now that we're video
On Instagram.
on Instagram.
Yeah. Right.
And so
It is interesting to think about this as kind of related to, but not replacing. It's kind of adding on to Instagram. Obviously, it's from the creators of Instagram.
Right.
It is also interesting that it says Threads, an Instagram app, not a Meta app or a Facebook app.
Yeah.
Kind of distancing themselves
Right.
from that side of things in some way. I think that's kind of an interesting take. But I feel like as a version 1 app, holy moly, it's like really nice. It's really well done.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, come on, people, just let me edit. I mean,
No.
if I have bad grammar, I would like to fix it. But
That's why it's a thread. You just fix it in a follow-up.
exactly.
And maybe someday they have a higher character count. It's 500 characters instead of 280 on Twitter. So I can definitely see longer-ish posts coming on this, and the whole idea of it threads being in the name, and it like kind of says like these are going to be conversations,
Right.
and I kind of feel like there are some. It's interesting, like the constraints that these companies pick to build a social media platform around, and what that enables people to do or not do. I think it's all kind of an interesting decision-making process that they've gone through to get here. I'm sure it wasn't easy.
Right. Yeah, and I think there's one other thing that people are complaining about. I was complaining about not being able to edit my poor grammar, but
you've never been able to do that anyway. So.
True.
I mean, not even in your drawings.
Yeah, true.
Maybe.
That's terribly true. And especially when you copy and paste that same note to other things, since you
One set
just
to another.
perpetuate that same error as it goes on, and they're like, no. So we can tell that this drawing was recycled.
I mean, you can really complain to the creators of whatever design documentation software you use that there's no spell check in it.
This is true.
Yeah. We need the Grammarly plugin for AutoCAD and Revit.
Yeah, we've become so used to seeing the red squiggly line or the blue squiggly line, either indicating poor grammar or syntax or whatever, or spelling. And so just, I'll have to go and fix that before I hit send. And
it's not in the software.
It is not in that software.
It's nowhere to be found, right?
There's
You rely on it in so many places, and then it's not there, and it's like,
yeah.
I guess the mistakes are going to make their way through.
Or
So,
when you do things in all caps and it doesn't do the spell check in all caps. Like, come on.
mm-hmm.
Like, yes, I'm yelling,
Right.
but I would like to yell in proper English.
So yeah, we're on Threads. What does that mean? We don't know. They've had something like 10 million people sign up in the first 7 hours, which is insane. But it seems to be handling the traffic well.
Yep.
Will people hang around is my question.
That's true.
Will people stay there beyond the first week or two?
Is this just something new to like thumb your nose at Twitter? Or
definitely they're riding that wave for sure.
And they may not be doing an actual cage match between Musk and whatchamacallit?
Elon.
Yeah. But they certainly are doing a little digital cage match between the two.
Right.
Because they're going back and forth with each other. And
there was like a cease and desist order sent from Twitter to
Didn't he open source the thing?
I don't even know.
I mean, that's what everybody's just like, yeah, nice try, Elon. You open sourced it. And I don't know what that means other than the fact that when you let other people use your stuff, then...
I heard those words. I don't really know what they mean.
Exactly.
But yeah.
Exactly. So, but yeah. So here we are. We're launching into all of this stuff.
So you can find Archispeak _podcast on Threads. You can find Archispeak _podcast on Instagram. And of course, you can follow us there as well as normal, real people, not third-person podcasts. eTroxel and Archie _type. You created the Archispeak podcast name on both platforms. You just had to squeeze that underscore in there.
No, they forced me. Honestly, they forced me. It was automatic. When I created it, it was just like, I didn't type an underscore. And sure enough, I was just like, wait, let me try that again. And I deleted it and I started over and I'm like, why does it keep giving me an underscore?
Well, yeah, you can't have spaces in file names. Everybody knows this from MS-DOS, 8-character limit, no spaces.
Oh, yeah. Whatever, nerd.
But now we actually are known as the Archispeak _podcast.
Yes.
I mean, we actually are renaming it that as of today.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with our handle on Twitter.
Archispeak.
Archispeak.
ARCHISPK. I can never type it correctly the first time anyway. So
I just click on the little button that says, would you like to change profiles? Yes.
Right.
You go back and forth between the two because thank goodness it remembers the log,
the credentials,
my password, because I don't know what it is.
Rely on the technology much?
Yeah, exactly.
Jeez.
Or completely.
Yeah. So that's one thing in news. The other topic that I wanted to talk about today. So hey, wait, before we move on to the next topic, everybody go follow us there.
Yes, please.
I would love to see what happens when you say that on an episode of a podcast, especially when it's new and fun and it's not a total dumpster fire yet. This is the time to do the following. You follow people now, and then you can get rid of people later when that happens.
Pre-dumpster fire.
Pre-dumpster fire,
okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so topic number 2. I got an email from NCARB today, and I...
oh my gosh. A lot of people seem to...
I posted on the Entree Architect book group as well about this, just saying, hey, did anybody else get this email today? Because, this sucks. I mean, we've had a couple of episodes where we've been like, wow, NCARB, good job. Hand golf clap, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's like they've done a couple of cool things. Obviously, we can put links to those show notes back in the episode. If anybody hasn't been following along, NCARB has been making changes. Today's changes, I don't think are so cool. So it basically has to do with fees. And I think it's so interesting how we rely on the NCARB as licensed professionals if you want to move your license from one state to another or one jurisdiction to another, because they also, I think, allow reciprocity in the UK and maybe there's even additional places. But in order to do that, the states can basically force us to use NCARB for the most part,
Right.
not everywhere, but a lot of states require an NCARB certificate and an active NCARB record for either to become licensed or to move your license through reciprocity.
Correct. Yeah.
Does that sound right so far?
Yep. It's not, and you were right. It's not every state, but I have seen more and more states that the first time that I was actually checking to say, oh, where can I get reciprocity without NCARB? There were a lot more. And since this conversation earlier today happened, I started looking, well, a lot more are starting to fall into their state boards are using NCARB rather than, so
Sure.
they're streamlining.
They're outsourcing.
Exactly.
Yeah. They're outsourcing this like management issue to the middleman who is NCARB, who sits between them and us.
Right.
And just for those who don't know what NCARB is, if you're a student and you've never even heard of NCARB, you've probably heard of the AIA, the American Institute of Architects, but NCARB is the National Council of Architectural Registration Boards. And basically, they're the ones who administer the AREs, the Architect Registration Exam, to get licensed as an architect. And that's a national test, but licenses are handled by the states, right? And so each state has different licensure requirements. California has an additional exam called the California Supplemental Exam. Now I'm in Oregon. They have a separate, like much different, maybe even easier exam that I would have to do if I wanted to pursue licensure here. Really? But some states don't have anything beyond the ARE. But NCARB basically handles all of the testing, the facilities. I mean, they don't own the facilities, but they manage like the testing that happens at the facilities, the timekeeping, if you fail, how much time do you get to reapply to take that exam again? And they're basically managing the individual records of every candidate out there. And then once you pass all of them and they send you the thumbs up, you can then go to your state and say, I'm applying for licensure. And then NCARB will transmit your record to them to say, in fact, that you did pass all of the exams, because that's one of the requirements, and I would assume all 50 states, to get a license, right? So anyway, they may not be the only path to licensure, but that is probably the most often taken path to licensure is candidates taking the AREs.
Right. And it seems very convenient for people because it's a one-stop shop. And once you set up your council record, you actually start to, they'll transmit your hours and everything else, and you can
for AXP. You're tracking your AXP through them as well, because a lot of states are requiring AXP for you to get your license as well.
Yes. So it goes into your record. So it makes it really easy for people to use it and track it. So to your point.
Well, we just did an episode on this a couple of weeks ago, I want to say. I don't know the exact date, but talking about this, they basically got rid of the reinstatement fees where you had to pay past dues. So if you let your NCARB certificate expire, which anybody can do at any point by just not renewing, and you are basically out of, I don't know, you don't have a membership or a certificate anymore. It's just turned off with NCARB. And every year, the NCARB renewal fee, I think, has been about $250 to keep your NCARB certificate active, which is just $250, like just for them not to check a box, right? And if you don't pay it, they check the box that says deactivate, and it's still there, but it's deactivated. And so, go ahead.
I was going to say, and accruing essentially fees that if you ever do want to use it. Okay.
If you want to reinstate it.
Yeah. Well, you haven't used it in 3 years. Well, 3 times 2.
You pay $750.
Exactly.
Yep. Yeah. And so they basically said, okay, we're waiving those fees. If you haven't kept your record active, we're waiving those fees. And you only have to spend $250 to get back in.
Right.
And, we're welcoming you with open arms, right? For the low price of $250. So I did this. I was like, well, I just moved states. I wouldn't have done this if I hadn't moved.
Right.
But because my state does require the records to be transmitted from NCARB to my new state, if I wanted to pursue licensure here through reciprocity, then they require an NCARB certificate that is active. So I did this, and I basically didn't have to pay $1,250 in those those fees that have,
carried
what
on
would you,
for how
it's like, remember how, like cellular minutes used
yeah,
to roll over minutes. Now,
exactly.
yeah, we had rollover fees
Exactly.
basically.
Yeah.
Those were, they got rid of those. And so that was a great thing. So then I get the email today that says, as of August 1st, so after the deadline has been passed of June 30th, all the people who re-signed up for their NCARB certificate to reactivate, and they welcome you back. And now they send out an email. What's today? Today's July 6th as we record this episode. So a week later, they send out an email that says all the fees are going up to maintain your certificate and to transmit it to a jurisdiction. And they also talked about the fees if you're pursuing licensure through the AREs. Those fees have gone up too for retakes and things like that. So I wasn't really familiar with what the retake fees. They actually had like a free retake fee. You could cancel. I think that probably had to do with COVID. I'm sure that's probably changed because I remember it being
Oh no,
kind of
it
expensive when we did it.
it was like
Right? It was like,
it was $95 to cancel it. And then you still had, so like you paid your fee, you paid a cancellation fee. And
right.
when you reinstated it, that fee just carried over. But there was a lot of times, and a lot of people that I knew who would cancel tests over and over and over again because they just either weren't ready, bad timing, project deadlines, whatever. And I know somebody who had canceled or rescheduled their test 5 times. So 5 times 95 plus the what, 2 something per test, or like $300 a test. Let's just round up.
I think it was 120 or something when I was taking them. I can't remember. Was it more than that?
It was like
210. I don't know. Maybe I had the numbers backwards.
It was, but so then
Financial.
exactly. And so the rescheduling fee, and I got hit twice. I mean, with one test that I did, I rescheduled it where I ultimately paid double or triple what I think I might have been one of those people who did like 4 times. And I'm just like, come on.
Well, what I read today was it sounded like they had gotten rid of that fee, but people were canceling up till the day before, making it impossible for candidates who wanted to get in there and get a slot. It just couldn't react that quickly to fill that spot. And so they basically said, we're putting fees back in to make it easier for us to deal with people actually taking advantage of the rescheduling fee structure. Yeah. So all the fees went up across the board is the point of this digression, I think, is just like, but did they mention any of this before?
No.
Come back to NCARB.
No.
Hey, everybody.
Carrot, dangle, carrot, dangle, carrot.
Yeah. And then a week later, boom, all the fees are going up. So I think it was like $20 more per year for
just your maintenance,
just to renew. Yeah, it was like, it went from $250 to $270. And then it went from $450 to $475, I want to say, to transmit your license. So literally to push the transmit button from them to the jurisdiction that they're sending it to. And I'm sure I'm making that easier than it actually is, but it's a digital record that gets transferred. That now costs $25 more. And it's just kind of crazy making that they're acting like a cartel. It's like, we have no choice but to use them because the states require it. Like and there are benefits to NCARB, right? You've talked about them.
Yeah.
You like the CEs, right? That is a thing that they offer that you get as a member.
Yeah.
So there are some good things, but no matter what, you're paying more, and no matter what, you're paying more after you just reinstated your certificate. And it's kind of crazy making because we as a profession, number one, like there's no competition in this space, and we are forced to use these by other jurisdictions. And so could somebody else come along? And I don't even know how that would work, but it seems like, man, this is the kind of, like I was singing their praises when they did cool things, and now they do something like this. And I'm like, I've completely flipped. I'm back to, I've completely flipped. It's frustrating.
And I know that there were a lot of people who had gone and renewed their license or renewed their NCARB. And most of them were basically sort of in the same, hey, I live in an area, like it's actually really enticing for people, like say in the Maryland area, to have Maryland, Virginia, Delaware, DC. So you can practice in basically your tri-state, quad state area, right? And so people have all of those, but a lot of them, they all require NCARB. Well, Maryland does not, but other ones do. And so a lot of people were like, oh, I'm planning on getting my Virginia or my Delaware license or my DC license. And they do that. So there was a lot of people. In fact, if you recall, when we were at the AIA convention, people were talking about, hey, you were your NCARB. And I even went by the NCARB booth and listened to the spiel, that the hard sell that they were doing about the relaxing of.
So they brought up the fees.
Oh my goodness. No, they did. They absolutely did not, of course. And so everybody's like, oh, that sounds great. Sign me up. He's just like, log into your account and you can. And so it
leaves a really bad taste in your mouth when people do stuff like that, because it feels like a bait and switch. It's like, okay, you just renewed. Okay, this isn't for another year. And do you have to transmit your records? Hardly ever. No. But when you do, it's going to cost more. I mean, it's like these kind of things where it's just like, come on. Like, I know they just got a bunch of signups, a bunch. They just spent $250. And now they're going to say, okay, next year it's going to cost you more. And so this annual recurring revenue, their numbers on their spreadsheet just went through the roof. Boom. They're huge now. And for what?
Everybody was catfished, man. Because there were so many people who was just like, no, I don't know if there's a benefit for me to do this, especially if I owe $1,500, right? And so, no, they're not going to sign up. And so they don't sign up. And they're like, oh, wait. Let's just say, 50% of the people let their NCARB lapse and never renewed, and then incurred all of these things. There's no way that I'm going to sign up if I have to pay $1,500 amongst the AIA fees and everything else. No, I'm not going to do that. So they say, but wait, you guys can come back and we'll waive the fees. So now they've got that 50% influx of that $250, right? So now they've got all of these people back, and that, I can't say it, but they shtup you at the drive-thru. Oh,
everyone can fill in the translation there.
Yeah, it was
well, a lot of people use the NCARB registration certificate as an alternative to the AIA. And so I totally see your point. When you also consider an AIA membership, which is $800+ per year, this actually looks like, and I'm sure this is their argument, this is like nothing compared to the AIA. Or what are you getting from them?
But you don't need either one of them.
You don't need to. So, right? But some people like to have a credential after their name.
Well, we legally,
besides RA,
I was gonna say,
which means what? Nobody knows what that means.
It's so okay. So the question is who knows what NCARB means?
But somebody will look it up. Because nobody knows what it means, right? But they will actually say, oh, well, that's actually like 5 letters I can look up.
Right.
Whereas RA, resident assistant, like there's a lot of
rheumatoid arthritis.
Right. There's a lot of things. It's like they're going to guess what that means. They're going to guess wrong. NCARB, there's only one NCARB. And AIA, I think, is kind of in the same boat, but RA is just kind of a lame.
But RA, you can legally just say Evan Troxel, architect.
RA.
You can just say architect.
You can. Big word, Cormac. I don't know.
There's no guess.
So what kind of software do you build?
Well, there you go. There's that. Sure. There's that. But no, at least there's no guess. It's like, ooh, you're an architect, or it's just like, oh yeah, I wanted to be an architect, but all of the computers and stuff. You're just like, wait, no, different architect.
Yeah, real architect. That's what RA stands for. Real architect.
There you go. So yeah, they totally did a bait and switch on y'all. And what's funny is so
I like how it's us all. It's not you, because you decided you didn't go through.
I decided not to. I don't know why either, to be quite honest with you, because I was planning on doing it, but I just didn't do it. And so I didn't do it. And I don't know if you glanced over and saw me kind of like clicking away, but I clicked over And
I can see it in the reflection in your glasses. I can see that you're not paying
no,
attention to
no, I'm
me.
on the
This makes me very sad.
I'm on the NCARB website. Um,
Right.
and how much would it cost for Corbic right now?
Because you miss a
6 days
deadline.
after the deadline, which
Yeah.
incidentally enough, if you go to the NCARB, the main page of NCARB,
Is the old info still
the
there?
old info is still there, and you can still
That's
go.
what your extra $25 is going to pay for. Is just so that they can actually have the intern remove that post
Yeah,
from the front
so
page.
you can still go to ncarb.org and you'll see there, it's just like renew for waived fees. They still have that up there. So you click on it and you go through, and I logged into my council record, and it says for me, I can renew for my annual renewal, my
The
reactivation,
low
and
price
unpaid
of
renewal fees. So my low price is $1,025.
nice.
So yeah.
And I think I've seen too that there's like a limit on the amount that they will erase, right? And I think during that period it was like up to $1,250 or something like that. So I would imagine like if you haven't renewed in 15 years, or then you have to still pay the difference. I actually don't know the answer to
Well,
that.
so what was interesting is, so your post on the Entree Architect book page, the chatter there was, most people were like, oh, well, I've never had NCARB. There's no reason for me to have NCARB. And then some people are like lamenting. It's just like, well, the only one that I wish that I wouldn't have lapsed is this one or that one, because it's such a pain to reinstate that one. And you would have to have NCARB
Right.
to do that. And so there's those. But then, so like the question is, here, I'm going to be facing, when I first moved to Michigan, I was facing the dilemma of, do I need to keep my other registrations? Do I just move my architectural registration to Michigan, the state I reside in? The question is how many times am I going to sign and seal documents in Michigan or Maryland or Florida or wherever else? And I was like, oh, well, I'll just go ahead and renew them. They're not that expensive. I'll just go ahead and renew them. And I at least get reimbursed for one of them through the office. So not that big of a deal. Because I think each one of them was like $65 and $75. So, not that big of a deal. I decided to go ahead and renew them. But will I renew them next year? Doubtful. Will I ever sign and seal a set of documents in the state of Maryland again? I don't live there. I have no connections there. I have no real desire to work there, as in do sole practitioner type work. The firm that I work for, based in Maryland, they have plenty of people who are on their liability insurance, and I'm not one of them. So I'm not putting my license on the line.
It's not required.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, and by being licensed, it may be just licensed, maybe not even just licensed in Maryland, you are helping out their insurance, I believe, by being a licensed practitioner in their employment.
Yeah, exactly. So,
yeah.
Well,
there's that, but then like California, there's an extra exam, and I'm never going to let that one go away.
Oh, yeah,
because so I'm in the other boat. It's like it was extra difficult to get a license in California, and I don't want to ever potentially have to do that again. And so a lot of times reciprocity is more difficult if you're outside of California coming into California, because you have to take the California supplemental exam, which is seismic and all kinds of, there's, I don't know how many, 16 climate zones in California, and there's all kinds of questions on the exam about that, and it becomes extremely difficult. So am I going to let my license in California lapse? No. And I'm surprised to hear you say those numbers, because it's $150 a year in California, so every 2 years it's $300. It's quite a bit more expensive than the states that you're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Or is that a yearly, is that a biannual fee or an annual fee?
That's an annual fee. And I got to double check, because I'm pretty positive it's probably a little higher than that. Yeah. But not by much. We're only talking about like maybe $100. But
yeah, so $300 every 2 years in California, plus in Oregon, plus an NCARB, plus an AIA, and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Just to keep your licenses and your certificates and your options, let's just call it that, it's quite expensive it just gets added to your P&L statement.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's just one of those things that just kind of adds up, and it's like your subscriptions to all the streaming is all of a sudden you're like, holy crap, this is really out
You're
there.
like, wait, do I really?
Wait, I've spent that much?
Exactly. When was the last time I watched Motor Trend?
And prices are going up for everything everywhere, and so why not this?
Oh yeah, yeah.
But then why not your fees either, right? So I think
Inflation hits home pretty hard.
It does. Yeah. Well, that's all I've got on that topic. So I guess it's a rant, but it's also it just leaves a bad taste in your mouth, like I said.
It does, especially when NCARB ran this olive branch to all of its former membership holders. And they're like, oh yeah, come back. Oh yeah, by the way, welcome back. Here's our rate. Here's our new fee schedule.
Right afterwards.
Yeah. Just like,
yep.
We got you.
Right afterwards.
Because how it started was like, hey, did you get that? You sent me a text. You're like, hey, did you get that email from NCARB? And I'm like, I didn't get an email from NCARB, which meant you're like, yeah, about the new fees. And I'm like, oh, that must be for the people who did take advantage of it.
Right. Oh, it hurts.
Yeah.
It just hurts more. And what are you going to do about it? Like, this is my cartel angle, right? What are you going to do about it?
Exactly. It's just like, we gotcha. I mean, do you want to stay?
Captive audience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you want to stay. Now, if we wanted to look at it on the bright side, I don't know if there's a bright side, but let's just look for a silver lining. Let's hypothesize here. If you were only NCARB and not AIA, it is cheaper for you to be NCARB versus AIA. Now,
sure, by quite a bit.
By at least
it's like
third.
It's like by at least 2/3.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's like what, 800 plus for me. So yeah.
National, state, and local.
Exactly.
And it adds up.
But
and continuing education requirements.
Yeah. But so AIA has their state and local components, right? And local, usually you get a lot more active, you get a lot more out of your local components. That NCARB doesn't have those things. And so,
so they don't have a national convention.
Right.
All that stuff.
Exactly. They just show up. They show up.
They're in the expo hall.
Exactly. They're on the expo hall.
Selling their wares.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Pitching to everybody, hey, we waived our fees. Why don't you come back?
Yep. Yep. So yeah, they're very different. I mean, but also the necessary evil, middleman.
Yeah.
I don't know. Cartel.
Exactly. Wonder why AIA never took control of the main component of NCARB, or the main reason NCARB exists is the tracking, testing, licensure, documentation. Yeah, all of that stuff.
It does seem like they could at least compete with them.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't seem to me like they need to take it over. There doesn't need to be just one. I would advocate that there needs to be other options here.
Right.
And there needs to be competition. Because you can look back through our show notes in our previous episodes, and you can look and see the public records of how much the CEO of NCARB makes per year. Yeah. And you're like, I can see exactly why that's so high.
Exactly.
When you start looking at these fees.
Well, so, okay, let's think about this out of curiosity. It's just everything that AIA does, NCARB does for the maintenance and tracking of things. Most of the tests, you qualify for your initial licensure, right? Other than, say, those few states that have extra tests like California.
Mm-hmm.
You're essentially testing for a national test.
Yeah, but there's no national license.
But there's no national license. And so this is another ridiculousness of that, because other than, and I would even venture to say, is go ahead and throw the seismic, go ahead and throw all of the different tests California has, or maybe throw out the oral tests for California, but do the...
Oh, they haven't had that for a while. Yeah, it's gone.
Oh, it is gone?
It's just this supplemental exam, which is not an oral anymore.
Oh, okay.
It's like a normal. It's like taking an ARE, but it's in a different kind of a test center, and it's got California specific questions. Yeah.
Okay. Well, so if you want to get, so say you have your national license but your national license is limited to 49 states or 40 whatever states that don't require additional seismic type things, or the state of Florida that requires you to at least understand. And unfortunately, we don't have an extra test, which that always baffled me, is why we don't have an extra test for hurricane, for all of like the hurricane testing stuff and everything. But say you want those particular ones. Okay. You don't have to go and take all of California. You've already taken your national one, but you want a California test. So you have to take these California specific extra tests if you want to have that. It would make so much more sense.
That's no different than what they're already doing. I mean, you're just talking about how you track it all.
Right,
because
exactly.
What you're saying is there's a national standard for AREs.
Right. Yeah.
And then there's these additional tests per region. But there's no national license, and they're relying on the states to enforce those and collect the fees for, and then enforce, I guess. But yeah, I mean, it does seem like it's like, if we do it this way, then we can charge more here, then you can charge more there, and then they can charge more there, and it's all about just like, and then they put it on every individual out there to keep track of all that stuff and figure it out and like navigate it, is what I mean by that. Like, it's because it's complicated, especially if you're going to go after multiple states with different requirements. Yeah. And then there's different requirements for CEs from all those different states. Like California just added the Z and C, zero net carbon design ones, last year or the year before. You have to get 5 hours of that every year or 2 years, whatever it is. So
Florida has the advanced.
Every state has a different, and again, we have to negotiate or navigate all of that stuff ourselves. And what a pain.
Florida has a certain number that they require, and some of those are what's called advanced building code. And then like Maryland doesn't have as many requirements as Florida does, but it doesn't have any extra riders on there. And AIA, to maintain your AIA, you've got to have X amount. What is it, 18? 18 learning.
Or something. Yeah, there's like 18 learning units per year. Yeah.
And so.
And if you don't, what?
Exactly.
You can't renew.
Exactly.
It doesn't make any
well,
sense.
It's funny.
Then I can't give you my money.
So
it's so weird.
So it was like, how many times has a state asked you for your CEUs?
Well, they don't, and they say it's on the honor system, and that you can get audited, and people do get audited.
I've gotten audited and Florida was just like, hey, send me, a copy of your CEUs. And I did. And I even highlighted for them the CEU that covered the Florida building code. And then they said, well, we're rejecting this because you don't have the Florida building code ones. I'm like, you mean
you had one job?
I was like, you mean the one that was at the top of the list that was highlighted?
That I highlighted. Oh my gosh.
Oh, and they're like, oh, we missed that. It was in color. Oh, okay. You missed it. Great. And so they're like, oh, okay, you're fine then. And that was it. That was literally it. That was my audit. That was my audit.
Yeah.
Give me
as it should be.
Yeah, it's like, give me proof that you've done them. Here's my proof. Okay, you don't have your Florida ones. No. Look again. Here they are. Oh yeah, you do have them. Okay, thanks. See you next time.
Yeah. Right.
And I've already removed, another renewal is come and gone. And I think I got audited within a year of the last renewal, and I passed the year of my last renewal, and they haven't audited me. So fingers crossed, although I guarantee I'm getting the email tomorrow.
Well, that's what happened today. I was like telling my wife at breakfast, I'm like, oh, I should put NCARB after my name on my whatever email signature or something. And then I open it up and there's the email saying your fees are going up, sucker.
Yeah. So now are you going to put NCARB after your name, or are you going to do it just out of spite? You're like, forget it.
Right. I'm reconsidering that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which, thank you
for those letters.
By the way, since mine has expired, I need to make sure my email address,
you got to remove those.
Yeah, I got to remove those. I don't have all of the alphabet soup after my name.
Yeah, it does get a little out of control sometimes for certain individuals. Like the lead APs and the BDs and the Cs and AIAs and NCARBs and
AIA,
whatever, the
NCARB,
CDTs and
CDT,
goodness,
CSI,
CSI. Yeah.
PMP. What are some of the other
What's
ones?
that? I haven't heard of that.
That's the project management professional certification.
And DBIA, you got Design Build Institute of America. There's so many.
Yeah, it's just like I could like have such this long alphabet behind
You
there.
could.
Just like CP,
just
comma,
for fun.
I'll change my name to just CP and then comma, and then everything else is just all of my. As I like knock everything around here.
You're getting animated.
Exactly.
You're passionate about this. Yeah, right.
Actually, you know what I want behind my name? RET.
Retired.
Exactly. Although it's more likely that it's going to be ED.
Well, good luck with that.
Yeah. Speaking of DED, you had one more thought?
Have I? I forgot what it was.
Well, so you and I had a pretty interesting conversation today over text about another article that we read about
how much time we got.
Yeah, that's true. That
might be another episode.
You know what we'll do? We'll do that.
You want to leave this one on a cliffhanger?
We can leave that on a cliffhanger, but we will be talking about what happens when people neglect regulations.
Oh, mysterious.
I was going to say, when they like try to freeze.
Yeah.
And I'm not working. I can't not move my mouth. So anyway.
Ventriloquism.
No.
Yeah. All right. Until next time.
Yeah, absolutely.